Hello, everyone, and welcome to my first cast ever of Heroes Lounge. Today should be a good one. We have Division 1 NA game right now here in Season 3 of Heroes Lounge. We got Team Modo versus Montreal-style bagels, and as you can see here to the side of me, we have Modo at 2 wins, 1 loss, and Montreal-style bagels at 1 win, 2 losses. So if we take a look at the standings, that puts Modo at number 7 overall and Montreal-style bagels number 11 overall out of 14 in their division. But it's still very early in the season, and honestly, they're both only 1 map win off of each other, so we don't really know exactly who's going to win this one. There's a bit of an interesting storyline to this. We have the long-time standers Modo. They've been in the game for several years at this point. Obviously with different roster swaps here and there, but as I was talking to the Modo captain, they said that they've been going on with competitive HOT since before HGC was even a thing. Whereas on the other hand, we've got Montreal-style bagels. They are actually operating with a heavily subbed out roster tonight. They've got 4 subs total, and 2 of them from the core team, and to my understanding, 2 of them from their sister team, Probe 1. So overall, this game, I have no idea how it's going to go. This could go a lot of different ways, but both of these teams are neither one looks like they really have a huge upper hand over the other. Anything could happen. They both like each other. These teams have been friendly and have had good matches in the past. So I'm just looking forward to what we're going to get out of this match here tonight. Alright, so I think both of our teams are ready here. Is this the living Mochi tea guy? Hey, hello Asadaki. How do bagels differ in Montreal? I have no idea, Somniorum. Welcome, everyone. Alright, so let's go ahead. I believe we are ready. I'm just going to confirm with the players here. Alright, counting down. 1. And we're going right into our first game, which will be on Battlefield of Eternity. Let's see here. Oh, whoops. I didn't realize that I'm a ref so we can see the chat right here. Oh, well. Stream can see chat, by the way. Don't be naughty. So we're going into game 1 right here on Battlefield of Eternity, which is a very interesting map in that it drafts very differently from a lot of other maps. So, like, on a lot of maps, a lot of teams can just draft a lot of wave clear, such as, say, Tomb of the Spider Queen, Infernal Shrines, maps like that. There's this huge emphasis on just clearing out big waves. Even Brax's Holdout kind of has that going on. Whereas Battlefield of Eternity is the complete opposite. Battlefield of Eternity, there's this big emphasis on single target damage. You've got poke, you've got burst, a lot of focus on vision control and scouting, mobility, ganking, but not really a lot on the wave clear side of things. So I think the way that, like, the drafts that Battlefield of Eternity lets you get away with are so interesting for that reason, because you'll see things on this map and this map alone that you basically cannot draft on any other map except maybe Hanamura. You'll see Medivh Tracer, you'll see Greymane Li Ming, you'll see all kinds of things where people are free to kind of pick whatever they want without really regard for, oh, do we have enough wave clear for this game, or anything like that. So I personally am a big fan of this map, and I'm looking forward to see how this goes so far. So we've got Alarak and Garrosh banned out on the side of Montreal-style bagels, and Ana banned out on the side of Modo. And some emote spam in the chat. We have an angry ghost coming out from Hedgie. Maybe they didn't like that Garrosh ban right there. We'll see. And Ghost Dunk is online. That is another caster. So we have our final ban coming out right here, taking up all of the time on the clock to do it. You think team names are backward? The team names are backward. Let me go fix that real quick. Thank you very much for pointing that out. But luckily, I have this nifty little button right here that goes whoop. It should go wait. Whoop, there we go. Alrighty, thank you very much. Okay, team names have been fixed. Thank you very much. You know, my first cast, alright, you gotta give me a little bit of credit here. And that's the Regar band. So one thing that I find really interesting right off the bat is that Modo is coming out with a support choke right here. You've got Ana banned out, you've got Regar banned out, so MSB immediately responds, ensuring that they get the support they want right out of the gate with Tyrande. They say, okay, you can support choke, you're just support choking yourselves, now you're down 3 supports right here. Let's see, so how is Modo going to respond? They grab the Hanzo, and they grab the support themselves in the Lucio. And again, I think they realized that the support pool is getting choked down a little bit, and if they didn't grab it right there, there is a strong chance that the support they wanted would be banned out in that second ban phase. They organized themselves on the wrong side? Correct, Hydra. This is the team's fault, not mine. Am I out of touch? No, it is the teams who are wrong. So here we won't really be able to see the exact sort of win con that the teams are playing for right off the bat. Well, we do see a Johanna and a Jaina right there. It's very interesting. One thing I will note right off the bat is that there is a pretty decent stun chain already built into MSB's roster right now. All 3 of the picks that they've picked so far do have some level of CC and burst, which is really, really useful in just getting a target down. Tyrande's Hunter's Mark does apply to the Immortal, so give me a second. Tyrande's Hunter's Mark does apply to the Immortal. Johanna is one of the best tanks for stalling out the enemy team on top of your own Immortal. Say, like, if you have your team racing, but the Johanna is just over there interfering with the enemy team, she excels at that role. She can blind the enemy team, she can condemn them all in the AoE, possibly suck them into the Immortal stun. There's a lot of good things going on there. And I think just the potential for a stun chain off of Jaina and Johanna Tyrande might be a little threatening to Modo, who right now only has a Lucio support, who isn't the best at responding to that kind of individualized target focus. So I'm really, really curious to see the direction that Modo takes their draft right here. You have the Chen and the Anub'arak. Okay, that has a lot of potential to scare a backline, but I will say that Johanna is one of the best tanks at protecting the backline. Chen has multiple abilities between his flying kick and his Storm, Earth, and Fire that allow him to get into the enemy backline and just start snacking away. And the Anub'arak naturally has his Burrow Dive, or Burrow Charge, and Cocoon on the supporter tank, which also just enables your team to get up on them. So I could see Modo playing a very aggressive style here. Ooh, okay. So I could see Modo playing a very aggressive style here, where they're just looking to get right up in your grill. They all just run straight at you. You get the arrow into the, like the Dragon Arrow from Hanzo into the Burrow Charge from the Anub'arak. Lucio just sound barriers as you just sprint at them and run them down. And then as I'm thinking about that in my head, I look at MSB's response, which is a Rexar. Now, Rexar is fine, and he does dominate the lane, but I do worry that this strategy of just everybody dogpiling the enemy backline might prove dangerous to them, because Rexar isn't exactly known for his capabilities of protecting the backline, and MSB effectively has 4 squishy backliners with only a Johanna and a Nisha for frontlines, so this could be problematic. Rich Melcher asks, is this game live? Yes. We're streaming this game live. I have a 20-second delay going right now. So let's see here. We have Modo, and that 20-second delay is just general Heroes Lounge standards, as far as I know. So Sylvanas is going to be the final pickup for Modo Gaming, and I gotta say, right now, Modo, I feel like, has a very easy playstyle set up for themselves. It's just everybody press their buttons on the enemy characters. You see a target that you want dead, any of the squishies, any of the 4 squishies on the enemy team, and you just go ahead and say, everybody press your buttons on that guy. Whereas, let's see here. You look at MSB, and I feel like, while this draft can definitely win, don't get me wrong, I feel that they have a bit more of a burden of execution upon themselves, which anybody who watches my personal stream knows I love to talk about. So here, I will say, MSB, if they chain their CC, can just absolutely murder somebody. While Modo has the ability to just everybody press their buttons on someone, MSB has everybody stun someone. And Lucio, if he doesn't go high 5, can't really respond to that. So I'm really actually curious to see when we get to that level 10. Does the Lucio go the high 5 to stop the CC chain? Or does Lucio opt for the sound barrier and just sort of use it on his team as he goes in aggressively? Because I could really see either one working rather well this game. So yeah, I want to move this, but I don't see the little grabby right here, so I guess this is just where our chat window is. Okay, so right off the bat, we have Rexar going up to the top lane, but Chen going through the middle, and I think that's a bit of an interesting note. I think Rexar might go straight to lane while Chen plays more of a scouting role. But before we talk about the game itself, we have Dudabides on Chen, Roger on Sylvanas, Spartacus on Anubarak, Heiji on Hanzo, and Savo on Lucio. And on MSB, we have Really on Rexar, MSB Fey Dragon on Tyrande, Fusion on Johanna, Emergency on Vala, and I'm probably going to butcher this, so I'm just going to say Zadie on Jaina. Let's see, right now both teams just sort of vying for control in the lane. I love what Modo did right there, where they had Sylvanas go ahead and establish control of that top push. I feel like that's a job typically sort of left to your main tank, but the fact that they even decided to control that push at all, I really like that step right there. Unfortunately, they are taking a lot of damage from the ranged poke on the side of Montreal-style bagels right now. So this is going to have to be a little interesting one. I'm not sure exactly how the laning phase is going to play out, but we have a Sylvanas rotation up to the top lane right now. Rexar might not see this coming right now. Looks like he's about half health. Chen just patiently drinking, trying to set up for the kill. And Roger's going right at it. I thought maybe there would be a little bit more of a wait to see if he could get an advantageous position, but Roger didn't want to waste any time. He goes up, tosses in his W, and he's out of there. The in-game volume is a little high compared to you. Alright, Asadaki, give me just a second to attend to this. Let's see here. Okay. Let me know if that helped at all. I feel like I may have screwed it up, or I may have helped it. I'm not really sure. Also, if you do have issues with the stream, please at me in saying them. It makes it a lot easier for me to catch it. Also, I think maybe switch scenes. Oh god, you're right. There we go. Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, first stream, by the way. First cast. Thank you. Alright, that's great. Fantastic. Okay, so, while I was handling the stream issues, and hello, Warforged Speed. While I was handling the stream issues, we did have the Anubarak and the Lucio both go down right there. As we mentioned earlier, the ranged poke coming out from Montreal-style bagels is just a little oppressive for Modo right now, with also Sylvanas going down. It's Roger on the Sylvanas, so we now have 3 out of the 4 bot solo or 4-man laners going down for Modo within the first 2.5 minutes of the game. And so with this advantage, they've already gone and taken the siege camp, and they're pressing hard in the lane. Now, normally this is a point where you would start to see people break off and head over to this bruiser camp right here. But Montreal-style bagels is just deciding that they have such an advantage in this bottom lane that they don't really need to. They say, why even go anywhere and play for that advantage during the objective when we have the advantage right now? Let's just keep pressing it where we are. So let's see here. We've got them walking back up. I will say they are in a bit of a rough spot, as Spartacus is at about a 3rd health, and they have that single target blow-up potential that we mentioned. Meanwhile, over in the top lane, they claim that there's a bear fight in the top lane between the panda bear and just the bear. I don't know the term for Misha. Oh no, they're taking a lot of AoE damage. Yeah, I will say they are getting poked out. I do worry a little bit about Montreal-style bagels' racing potential and their teamfight potential out here around the objective. But let's take a look. While we've got a little bit of downtime, let's go ahead and take a look at the talents. We have the expected Q build from Vala. Mostly just what you exactly expect to see. I will say the possession on Sylvanas is a bit of a surprise for me. I do think it has a lot of application in just swiftly turning a lane in your favor, and it can make for giant pushes with the Immortal. But overall, I'm a big fan of Mercenary Queen on Sylvanas instead, because the 30% damage to monsters and mercenaries and whatnot, once you have 3 stacks on them, also applies to the Immortal. So it actually is a big boost to your Immortal race DPS. W build from Hanzo so far, as expected. And another interesting note is this party mix right here by Lucio. He's already over halfway done. He's about 60% of the way through it. And that's going to give him a big passive zone for Lucio's healing. I'm kind of wondering if this is a potential indication for a boombox pick. Overall, like, I'm a big fan personally of the Q build myself on Lucio, but I could see that sort of going that way. Sorry, not a boombox pick. A reverse amp pick is what I meant to say. I could see that helping set up a reverse amp pick as we continue forward. Overall, I'm just really curious to see. Now, I really want to know what Lucio's 7 and 10 are both going to be. Is he going to go for the reverse amp? Is he going to go for the boombox? Is he going to go for the sound barrier, for the dive like I mentioned, or the high five to stop the CC chain? Maybe they won't be thinking about that hard dive kind of playstyle, considering how much they're kind of getting smacked in the bot lane right now. So there's multiple ways to play this. And I would not count out Modo yet. Honestly, even though we have Montreal-style bagels, again, being so oppressive in this bot lane, this is anybody's game. We're still only 2.5 minutes into it. Okay. I'm pausing. I will count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alrighty, so going back into this game now. Oh, we have a very close Lunar Flare onto the Hanzo. And both teams trading a bit of damage back and forth. Hedgie's completely out of mana with his Hanzo. Everybody kind of shrugging off a little bit of damage after that last one. Zadie thinking about a Hearth but canceling it on second thought. And we have begun the race part of this game. Johanna unfortunately walking into a mortal stun, but MSB responds with a well-timed Tyrande Lunar Flare. There's a bit of a skirmish over this objective right now. Rexxar decided to defend that top objective for just a moment, then realized Chen wasn't coming yet and went back onto that top lane. So we've now got both of the solo laners starting to head back towards this right now. The CC chain starting to go out on the Johanna. Spartacus trying to zone out the enemy backline so as to buy his team time to get the kill, but it doesn't quite work out. Johanna walks out of there. Damaged but alive, and now in response we have both Roger and, God, what's his name? Salvo on the Lucio both going down in response to that, and it's an easy halftime in favor of Montreal-style bagels so far. Again, they may be bruised and wounded, but they're making it through just fine. The gamble trying to everybody go on the Johanna didn't pay off, unfortunately. Jaina's getting dangerously low. They might want to think about resetting at this point. And it looks like on the other side, we have Modo just trying to get off any immortal damage that they can in preparation for this defense. A little bit of uncertainty about where the immortal would go. They're now going to swap the lanes. Chen going on to hold the bottom lane soak, while the 4-man defends top right away. Let's see, we now have... one thing I will note is that Modo is down 7 in this push. And so this might be a bit of a dangerous push. As we've mentioned so many times already, Montreal-style bagels is able to burst someone very, very quickly, and they're able to poke them down into that burst range in the first place. So I actually might be kind of scared if I was on the Modo team right now. I'm worried about a possible dive kill right here. We have the Blizzard coming out into the Condemn. That's 2 Blizzard hits onto Spartacus. Savo just getting absolutely murdered. He didn't even look like the primary target, honestly, but Lucio is a fragile boy. So he goes down. Still plenty of health left on this Immortal. Looks like MSB isn't going anywhere. They're taking out that minion wave as fast as they possibly can. They're staying here. And just as they were in the bottom lane, where they had a bit of a commanding presence, and they stayed right where they were and bunkered down and started sieging, it looks like the same exact thing is going on right here. I will note that the excellently timed Bruiser Camp from MSB helped them siege out that entire way. Probably contributed a little bit of extra damage on the kills. And oh, they're turning on Spartacus! But Spartacus is able to just burrow charge right out to safety. A little bit of a parted gift in that Lunar Flare from Fey Dragon. And now MSB is retreating to the top siege camp, but must also point out that in the bottom lane, Rexxar, really on the Rexxar against Dude Abides on the Chen, actually forced out that bot fort as well. So they went up 2 forts right there, up a full level at this point, and really may have actually started to step on that siege camp if Roger didn't show right at that moment. He took one look in and he Grandpa Simpson his way right back out of there. But on the other hand, on this Bruiser camp, we have MSB looking for this invade. We have Fusion just standing on the point, saying, I'm not going to leave anytime soon. Spartacus over there on the Anubrak's going to die way before I will. I'm not leaving. You can't make me. You got to step on this point and make me, and your tank's dead. So we have both Dude Abides and Spartacus going down on the side of Modo. 2-level lead for Montreal-style bagels right now, and it is looking a little rough. They're just running down this lane as well, and they have a pretty large wave built up right now, but still, again, anybody's game. Blizzard coming out from Zadie right there, and I think that was, yes, that was That was Rexar's ult right there. God, I never pick it. I only ever pick Unleash the Boars. I actually don't even remember what it's called right now. Bestial Wrath. We did have the Bestial Wrath come out right there, and Big Poke coming out onto Fusion, forcing out the Iron Skin. Dude abides with the immediate recognition of that, continuing onto him. But he's unfortunately going to have to walk out of there. Hedgie attempted to natural agility over the wall to safety, but the Hungering Arrow from Vala was just a little bit too much, and unfortunately he's going to go down as well. Now MSB, empowered by that double kill right now, knows that they can stick around. They can finish off this keep, but there's no way that they can finish out for a core rush. They decide that it's time to pack it up and leave. They've gotten all that they think they're going to get. So let's see here. We have the primary four-man out of Montreal-style bagels going directly onto the Immortal, wasting no time at all, getting right on it. Meanwhile, really working on the bot camp right here, again with the Bestial Wrath camp, merely to take a camp faster. I think it's interesting. It's got a very short CD, so it makes sense to me. He's betting on not having to take a fight within the next 30 seconds, but honestly, a decent bit of ults are down for Montreal-style bagels right now. Let's see here. Spartacus looking for the poke onto the enemy team. Got a nice double Q right there. Oh, and the Cocoon coming out onto the Johanna. They're going onto Emergency super hard. Emergency gets hit by the Vala stun. Charanda's also getting shredded by the Chen in the backline. They're going right at this enemy team right now. Vala running away desperately. All out of mana. Savo running them down. Unfortunately, his sound wave gets blocked by the Iron Skin. Emergency ease back in one more time. Vaults back in for the Hungering Arrow. And then says, I need to tap. I'm all out of mana. I missed a Jaina kill. I apologize. Dude abides chasing down really once again. Sort of just noting them off at this point. Emergency again vaulting in forward for the multi-shot and the Hungering Arrow. Getting a little bit of extra poke, but honestly I'm worried they might be running out of gas. Oh my god, a very nicely timed sound wave to push the Johanna off of his teammate, but it's not enough to save Roger's life on that Sylvanas. Dude abides, gets his drink interrupted by the Tyrande Lunar Flare, and people are going down at this point. Control 1 and Control 2 for stats and talents on Aliabs? Yeah, I know that. I'm just a little bit... I'm trying to focus on the game right now. But I will bring those up and talk about those in just a moment here. We've got Hedgie poking out right now onto the enemy team at this point. Modo's deciding they'll just take a second to regroup right here. They're just going to go out and clear this bot wave. They know that they can't win this Immortal, which will go to the top lane, by the way, and good recognition from Montreal-style bagels that there wasn't really an element of urgency to this, and that they had enough time to slow down their race in order to take this bruiser camp right here. So let's go ahead and take a look at those talents while we're waiting for this push to come out. Looks like we have all 5 on both teams headed up to the top lane. And as predicted, Lucio did go for the reverse amp for the combination with the party mix at level 1. And we get the sound barrier as well. So even though they had that little bit of a rough early game at the start, not shaken by it, they still stuck behind their game plan of going hard onto the enemy backline. You know, honestly, it was kind of working for them there. I saw the pressure onto the Vala. Oh, big Dragon Arrow from Hedgie coming out onto the backline. Immediate Cocoon onto Johanna. Spartacus running at Tyrande. Never mind, decides to ditch it and switch targets to Vala. Zadie getting shredded down to half by the Chen, but unfortunately it's not going to work. Sylvanas dying in the backline for Modo. Desperately trying to chase Zadie down, but just quite can't confirm the kill. Savo going down on Lucio. Spartacus also going to be finished off on the Anubarak. Dude abides running away from Zadie. Never mind, he's going right back in, but I think the barrel missed. 3 people down for the side of Modo Gaming. Montreal-style bagel, all they have to do now is finish the core. They've got it down, and that was a rather fast game 1 coming out. GG's, game 1 going over to the side of Montreal-style bagels. What would you have done level 8 versus 10? Would you have given the keep in order to soak or 5-man defend? I don't think... Me personally, I'm not quite sure. Let's go back to me here. Hello! Me personally, I'm not quite sure exactly how I would have played that game out from the 8 to 10 position. I do think that they were in a bit of a rough spot, and that honestly, even though that game was a very fast end for Montreal-style bagels, and we were coming over, let me see here, and we had a difference of 3 kills to 15. I honestly think it was that close, just a little smidge close to being a very, very favorable game for Modo. Modo came extremely close to confirming several kills that unfortunately just didn't quite materialize They were getting Johanna down to 10%. They were getting Vala down to 10%. They were getting Jaina down to 10%. And I just think if maybe if the target focus is there, or the engages are a little bit more crisp, or I'm not really sure exactly what it is, but just I do think that Modo is just a hair off of that victory, and that this game was a lot closer than the duration or the kill count would tell you. This Jaina lived through everything, 100%. From the like 15 plus maps I've ever seen Zadie play, she only really plays Jaina. Hey man, respect to what works. I think I would have given the keep, yeah. I think I agree with that. At that point, Soak is king. You need Soak downtown. They just needed a bit more coordination. Exactly. Honestly, like, I don't know. I think that the big thing for Modo right now, going into game 2, is the question of can they keep their mental game strong? Are they able to shake off game 1 and say, hey, that may have been a fast game. We may have gone down however many kills, 12 kills. But you know what? We almost had him. There were a lot of times that we almost had him in those fights. And all we really need to do is just keep it together, bring a strong draft game 2, maintain that confidence that we need to still pull the trigger even when things aren't quite working out, and go forward. That is really what I want to see coming out of Modo into this game 2. If you're Montreal-style, Bagels, on the other hand, you got to be on cloud 9 right now. You did exactly what you wanted. The game went exactly to their dictation. They controlled the flow start to finish, literally from lane all the way to the end. Really, they just have to focus on the exact opposite from Modo. They need to not get complacent. They need to not get overconfident and think, okay, this game's already decided. They need to come in and bring that same energy into a game 2 right here in this best of 3. Mockery, when am I subbing in? I am casting this game, so unfortunately I will not be able to sub in. I believe that's actually against Heroes Lounge rules. Let me go ahead and speak with the team leaders right now here. Alrighty, and for game 2, we are going over to Cursed Hollow. We're setting up the lobby right now, if you'll just give me just a moment. Oops. And the lobby's up. Fusion. And we're going to go ahead and put MSB on the same side again. How y'all doing tonight, by the way? How's the cast been so far? I feel like it's going okay. A little bit of bumps here and there, but I'm having a good time overall. Let's see. Sub on the left side. Emergency on the right. Dude abides on the left. Let's see. This is an extremely professional setup, especially considering Mockery is doing this from the floor. I love it. I love it. God, I thought maybe if I changed my camera angle, because I moved the camera over here. It used to be over like where my hands are, right this, but now I moved it over here, and I thought maybe the new angle will help people see that I'm not on the floor, but I'm looking at it and it does still kind of look like I'm on the floor. So who knows? Alright, I need to go update the match standings right now. Was picked by blue, one by red. Game 2, we're going to Cursed Hollow. Who picked Cursed? MSB or Modo? Casting is great. You just need to remember to switch scenes. I'm the worst person ever at switching scenes, Hydra. So, maybe it's not for me. Let's see. Modo chose first pick. MSB chose the map. Alrighty. Let's go into this and sync score with match data. Boom, boom, boom. Alrighty, and it looks like we have 9 out of 10 players in the lobby right now, just waiting on that 10th, and we will go right into the draft for the next game. I'm rooting for Montreal. Well, good for you, Harbinger, because Montreal is up 1 kill to 0 right now. And honestly, like I said, it was closer than the score would indicate, but they did go up 15 kills to 3 in an 11-minute game, so heavy respect to Montreal for that Game 1 performance. Montreal is stacked. They stole players from Probe 1. I don't know if I'd say stole, but Montreal does have 2 subs from their sister team, Probe 1, right now, which is kind of funny because I'm actually casting Probe 1 on Sunday with co-caster Fun Buns, and I actually played against Probe 1 recently in TESPA, in the TESPA Collegiate Series. Our team's correct. Alright, we now have the 10th player in the lobby, looking forward to going into Game 2. Ooh. Swap. Taking Roger and Wheeling. Alright. We're just going to see if both teams are ready. I have to. I'm from Montreal. I love it. I love it, Harbinger. Keep that hometown spirit. It's exactly what I'm talking about. Alright, let's see. Alright, both teams are going to have to wait a little bit longer. So again, let's see. I'm going to go here and consult my notes. Alrighty, so honestly though, let me see. Cursed Hollow. Let's talk about this map for a second. This map is very, very different from Battlefield of Eternity in a lot of ways. Battlefield of Eternity is a sort of small and contained map. There are elements of map pressure and pressuring the map while the objective is going, but they're a lot less mainstream and a lot less commonly found on Battlefield of Eternity than they are in Cursed Hollow. Cursed Hollow, you're going to see a lot of various things. Abathur is typically considered very high priority on this map. You've got a lot of times where you're looking to poke out the objective. There are a million different viable comps on this map right now. I'm not going to be able to call exactly what we might see right here, but I think it'll be a good one. Overall, I think that maybe that first game, I'm just really hoping Modo is able to shake off the dust from that game, shake off the rust, and just go into this game with some confidence. I think it'll be a good one. Let's see. We're ready. We have a ready from one of the two teams, just waiting on the other one, and then we'll be able to go forward. From what I understand, about half the TESPA Probe 1 players play on the Heroes Lounge team, but I don't know Division 1 too well. I'm rooting for Mockery to remember switching scenes. You know what? I'm rooting for that too, Ryokai. Could you tell us the difference between their bagels and other bagels? I shall ask them. Waiting on one then ready. MSB. Chat wants to know, what is the difference between your bagels and other people's bagels? What is so special about Montreal bagels? Alrighty, we will await an answer now, but I have passed on your inquiry on to that team right now. So again, while we're waiting, why don't we just go ahead and take another look at the tournament standings. So I showed this earlier right at the start, but like I mentioned, we're team number 7 and team number 11 going off tonight. And at first, this might look a little confusing to you. You might wonder, why is a team that's 3-1 number 1 over 2 teams that are undefeated? This is because the Heroes Lounge roster actually uses a system that prioritizes map wins over game wins. So, or at least I think it might be a tiebreaker situation. So Percival Power Party is 3-1, which isn't a perfect record, and there are 2 teams that are 3-0 below them. But in that one loss that Percival Power Party had, they went 1-2. So Percival Power Party has 7 map wins total, compared to the 6 map wins of Broken Alliance Gaming and Probe 1, which, according to the chat, Montreal-style bagels stole 2 players from, and maybe that can be contributed a little bit to the success of Game 1 right there for MSB. Okay, and let's see here. We have an answer coming out from Fae Dragon. Let's read this right here. The main difference between Montreal-style and New York-style is that Montreal bagels are boiled in honey water and then baked in a wood-fired oven. Well, now I have to know, how do New York-style bagels work? WTF are New York-style bagels? Because, like in their answer to my question, they have just introduced another term that I need to understand. I wouldn't be like, of course, a New York-style bagel. I know how that's different. In response, Fae Dragon responds, I don't know. So far, all we know is that they're boiled in honey water, they're baked in a wood-fired oven, and they're not New York-style bagels, for anybody wondering. Wikipedia says the Montreal bagel is smaller, thinner, sweeter, and denser, with a larger hole, and is always baked in a wood-fired oven. I'm hungry for bagels now? I'm sorry, Chad. Let's see here. I feel like I need a little bit of music right here. Like, hold on. But that would be kind of a pain to turn it back on and off in between the game and all that. Whatever, you're stuck with me right now. Sorry, guys. I'll turn on the in-game music. How about that? That's a nice little compromise. I eat bagels every day. Agreed with Ryokai. Honestly, bagels are a good way to very efficiently get a lot of calories in your system. They're very heavy on bread, and you just go ahead and slap on like a bunch of cream cheese, and you have a ridiculously calorically dense food. So if you're the kind of person that wants to eat on the go, or doesn't have a lot of time for eating, or just sees food as kind of just fuel, you don't really live for it, it's just something you do to live, then bagels are a great way to go. I think New York bagels, all of NA bagels, will... Okay, that makes sense to me. Kick it, we're ready when we are. Alright, both teams are ready for this draft. Let's go ahead, let's try to remember to change the scenes this time as we go into the draft for this next game right here. For Game 2, Cursed Hollow. MSB is up 1-0 right now versus Modo in this Division 1 NA Heroes Lounge match. Snap, Uber Eats about to get me all up in some wood-fired oven. How will Oven get a job now? I love it, that's pretty funny. Alrighty. Waiting for players, but we just were waiting for players. Alright. Interesting thing to note is that Modo is coming into this with first pick in Game 2, whereas they were second pick in Game 1. Can't help but wonder if they were forced on first pick, or if they were forced on second pick Game 1, or if maybe they're trying to mix up the strategy going into this second game. Maybe they think that they didn't get everything they wanted out of that draft, and now they think they have a little bit more control here. Maybe they just don't care what the map is. Honestly, I've been there a million times. The other team's like, do you want first pick? Do you want map pick? And I'm just like, just give us first pick, and then that way I don't have to choose anything. I'll just be like, we'll clap you on any map, I'll take it, whatever. Ana ban coming out again from the side of Modo. If I remember correctly, Game 1 we had the Ana and the Rhaegar bans coming out, and Montreal-style bagels had the Alarak and the Garrosh bans, so I'm really intrigued to see if we get more of the same thing, or if we shift in recognition of the map we're playing on, such as, like I mentioned earlier, Abathur tends to be very high priority on this map due to its excessively large size and his global presence, and his ability to cut down on rotations with his mines. But we're not seeing that so far. So far it is a carbon copy of Game 1's bans, just in the opposite order. We again have the Ana ban coming out from Modo, and then the Alarak ban coming out from Montreal-style bagels. Both teams' first bans are the exact same. Just found out the cafe at my French Cultural Center in the city imports their bagels from Montreal. Nice. And there we go. There is a deviation from the Game 1 draft. We have the Abathur ban coming out from the side of Team Modo. Are we going to see an adjustment from Montreal-style bagels, or are they still afraid of the Garrosh? That is the question right now, and this may betray a hint of what they're going for. I will say, Modo banning out Abathur from first pick. Okay, and there we go. That's a Garrosh again. So we still see the exact same bans coming out from Montreal-style bagels, but I will say, on the other side of Modo, the fact that they banned out Abathur from first pick may indicate that they're not that confident with it, because usually teams are scrambling to get that hero on this specific map. So I'm kind of curious to see exactly what kind of draft they're going for. Maybe they don't play this particular map a lot, or they're just not feeling the Abathur, honestly. Johanna first pick coming out from Spoticus. He said, nah, I was a squishy bug last time, and I got yeeted, so I'm going to go ahead and be a beefy boy in this Johanna. The Rhaegar immediately comes out on Fey Dragon, and Zadie on the Sylvanas. I have to recall that in Game 1 on Battlefield of Eternity, Modo did second ban Rhaegar with their first two bans. So maybe that's a bit of a scouting problem right here. Not so much a scouting problem, I'm sorry, but maybe they recognize that in Montreal-style bagels, and they said, oh, okay, we know Fey Dragon's got that scary Rhaegar, we're not going to let it through. But unfortunately, this game, with the Abathur being so strong on this map, that wasn't an option, and they were forced to let it through for MSB. Now, we see a Jaina again, this time on the opposite team, Modo coming out with the Jaina, and Duda Bides on the Dahaka. There's the global pressure that we were talking about right now, and now they might end up... We could see a response for global pressure coming out from MSB in the form of a Falstad, an ETC, or a few other options. There's the Hanzo ban right there. We did see it on Hedgie last game. They decided they don't want any of that this game, especially with the heavy Merc presence and Corridor presence on this map. Hanzo has been a mainstay of Cursed Hollow ever since his release. They're going to go ahead and take that away right there. So, the draft from MSB right now is super open-ended. It could go a ton of places. It honestly could. And in a way, Modo is kind of stealing MSB's Game 1 draft. They've got the Johanna and they've got the Jaina. Which I think I like a little bit more on this map than I did like on BOE, but we saw that we can't really argue with the result that it earned for MSB that last game. Maybe this is a bit of a pseudo-ban coming out from Modo saying that we're going to take away the Ana and we're going to take away the Johanna and the Jaina by taking it from you so that you can't pick it again. But then again, Zadie already did pick and that was their Jaina, so who knows. We do see the ETC coming out from Emergency. Again, as I mentioned earlier, they might want to respond to the global presence from this Dahaka with Dude Abides, and one of the ways to do that is with a stage dive ETC. So that could be the answer right there, and I'm eagerly awaiting to know what his level 10 talent will be on the ETC, and also really on the Zarya. That's interesting. As I mentioned before, that stun CC chain playstyle of bursting somebody down is a lot harder into a Zarya. So we have Stukov Valera finishing out the draft for Modo. Again, just so much lockdown. Everyone on that team has a significant form of CC, and I worry that it might not be that effective into a Rehgar with Cleanse and a Zarya shielding, and even ETC face melt, but hold on a second. That is a Lost Vikings coming out from Fusion for Montreal-style bagels, and suddenly everything makes sense. Montreal-style bagels has picked a very strong 4-man push comp right now. They're able to just stack one lane. All Zarya really wants to do is trade with the enemy team and push one lane together. And Sylvanas is very, very good at sort of widening a disparity in the pressure between two teams. If you get an advantage over the other team, you can immediately start to look to pressure their objectives with the Black Arrow cast. So overall, I think that Modo has a bit of a tall order here trying to defend against this incredibly tough 4-man push that MSB is coming out with. It's TLV? Oh, you know it, baby. Right team is named Beagles, but the left team scores Beagles. Seems good, Greffer. Alrighty, so this game we have on the side of Montreal-style bagels, Emergency on the ETC, Really on the Zarya, Fusion on the Lost Vikings, Feydragon on the Rehgar, Zadie on the Sylvanas. And then on the side of Modo, we have Dude Abides on Dahaka, Roger playing Jaina, Savo on Stukov, Spartacus on Johanna, and Hedgie with his Hanzo taken away, or with their Hanzo taken away on the Valera. With the ever so classic Sad Cloud. Love that mount. I believe that when Blizzard released their statistics a long while back, a good 2 years ago at this point, Sad Cloud was the most crafted item in the entire game. And so here we have some early tower pressure already coming out. Zadie and Really and Feydragon are all looking to pressure that top lane right away. They know that they're not going to miss soaks in the other lanes due to having that Vikings, and that the enemy team was likely going to pressure mid right out of the gate. But Valera Hedgie coming out and killing Eric right away, forcing Baylog to have to come up from the bottom lane and assume the role of soaking mid right now. But the pressure is still coming out from Montreal-style bagels. They almost have a tower down right out of the gate. That thing is but merely a hit away from dying. Looks like Zadie's going to finish it off with the Haunting Wave. Power Slide possibly wanted to go out on Roger, but just didn't quite connect. Big Blizzard coming out, but everybody's going to step out of it. And I honestly worry that that may have been the primary wave clear right here onto this wave, but I think Johanna might be able to pick it up. The pressure's continuing right here. Neither team really going for the camps right now. I gotta say, that's rather interesting. Zadie taking big damage. Almost going down. Hedgie walking up on the Valera, but gets de-stealthed by an interestingly and well-timed, interestingly placed and well-timed totem coming out from Feydragon on the Rehgar. Ever so watchful about their backline. Ever so protecting of Zadie. Really like what I'm seeing right there. That was a beautiful heads-up play from Feydragon. Let's see, Blizzard comes out once again. Zarya's rolling on high energy right now. That tower is still shut off, but Eric dies in the bot lane in the immediate rotation of Olaf downward towards it. They're not going to miss any soak on the side of Montreal-style bagels, but they are down a little bit right now in the soak. Modo, the first team to hit level 4, but I worry, or they possibly worry about if that's enough to counteract the fact that they're losing so much siege. MSB is running out of minions right here, and so Emergency's going to tank 2 fort shots as they're walking away. Hedgie choosing not to engage on Relay, but rather onto Emergency's ETC. I do think it's an interesting thing to note. Emergency was on Vala last game, so there has been a bit of a role swap right here. Roger's out of mana, Spartacus is out of health. They're both going to reset and do something about that right now. But a beautiful response coming out from Modo right there. Sort of killing MSB's pressure on the top lane. But Savo, his mana's too low to really do anything right here. Walking away from the Silk, letting Dudabides go ahead and pick it up. And I worry his health or his mana pool might be a little too low to contest this, but it looks like Montreal-style Bagels is electing to put all their pressure onto this Bruiser camp rather than showing up to this objective. Enemy team doesn't know that though. We've got them warding out right here. As far as they knew right at that moment, the enemy team was showing up any second, MSB. Beautiful kill from Dudabides on Balog in the top lane. Savo's running out of mana, and they took a little too long in capping this and capitalizing on that time advantage that they had on the side of Modo, so now MSB has fully caught up and is here, and at this point the game is a ticking time bomb. The longer you spend trying to win this objective... Oh hey, that's a Jaina kill on Eric. Well done, but they do have 3 people in top lane, and I think Montreal-style Bagels, or sorry, mid lane, and I think Montreal-style Bagels is recognizing that and collecting their free tribute. But as I was mentioning, if you get into a long, stalled-out fight over the tribute against the team with the Lost Vikings, they're soaking while you're not. So that did have to be resolved quickly and decisively. So either way, even though they didn't necessarily win it, I think that that was a decent result for Modo, and was far preferable to just sitting there trading back and forth before eventually getting it, but going down half a level. Spartacus really stepping up while at half health. Needs that heal from Savo right here in order to fix things. Scene God. Thank you. Alright. We're only 4.5 minutes into the game. Ooh, man, I'm gonna have to work on that. First cast. Alright, so now we have to hope that Modo wins this game so that we get a game 3 so I have the chance to redeem myself. We see all of Roger's cooldowns on that Jaina going out onto Zadie, but it's just not quite enough. Through the power of team support and the Lurking Arm, not quite landing on Zadie. Doesn't look like that materialized into a kill. We now have Dahaka starting to walk from the top lane, perhaps for kill pressure on the Olaf. Hedgie going in for an interrupt on Fey Dragon's Rhaegar right there on the turn-in. Looking to chase them down, Spartacus condemning everyone to the Lurking Arm with no fear, but maybe they should have been a little bit more fearful as they get punished and go down. Roger getting them out dismounted again, really just being a nuisance in the backline, not letting them go home safely. And this may start to be the beginning of the end right here. All lanes are being soaked. A tongue from Dahaka onto the Balog. Fusion desperately running away, but it's not going to work. We see the immediate response with Eric cycling over to the top lane, a little bit of a detour right here. Olaf likely going to continue soaking out the mid lane, and we have pressure from Montreal-style Bagels onto the bottom fort. They're starting to get up half a level, and winning those 2 objectives was crucial because if there's anything a Viking Sylvanas team does well, it's hold on to an advantage. The biggest thing you have to do versus these teams is beat them early and not let them get ahead, because dear God, they will run down your lanes and soak all of the other lanes at the exact same time, and it is very difficult to deal with. As you can see right here, Modo aware of what's going on, but not really able to stop it, as Hedgie's looking around for the kill in mid lane, looking for the Viking that's going to show up, but Emergency is actually here to protect it, so Hedgie's going to stay back in the bush for right now, not trying to reveal their position, as we have everyone else from MSB looking to rotate up to mid, through mid, to this objective, which is the most advantageous position to have. Savo face-checking the bush into Emergency. The immediate expulsion zone response. Savo trying to Lurking Arm on top of himself. Massive shove, but it's just not going to be able to save them. Roger also kind of getting face-melted out there. Dudabides, unfortunately, the isolation doesn't connect. Emergency with good positioning, not running straight away to get caught by it. But big burst damage onto Emergency, and he goes down, and now they're chasing... Modo's chasing MSB down here. Fey Dragon luckily barely avoids the subdue from the Johanna thanks to that move speed from the Ghost Wolf. And Modo collects their first objective of the game, or rather they They're trying to, but really, again, just being a nuisance as always. Getting punished by the Valera shouldn't go down, but will get quite low. But again, as we mentioned before, the ever-present push pressure of the Vikings is showing a bit right here. Even though Modo had a very strong showing at that objective, they've now gone down a full level, and they have heavy lane pressure in the side lanes. So even though they got one of the better possible outcomes of that, it's just so hard to come back versus a Sylvanas Vikings team that has a significant advantage. Hedgie is scouting out this boss. They now know exactly what Montreal-style bagels is up to. Has to pop Cloak of Shadows in order to escape that pressure right there. Good call right there. And Montreal-style bagels, not shaken by the scouting at all, goes right back to the boss. No hesitation. Really tanking the boss son in order to get a little bit more energy going into this next fight. Blinding Light, or whatever the hell it's called, used to scout out the bush. And let's see here. We have a fight, honestly, coming up right now. Water Elemental does come out from Roger on the side of Modo. Expulsion Zone should be used on the boss here. I don't think that Modo maybe realizes how potentially doomed this is, but never mind. They're just going to kill everybody before the boss comes out. Fey Dragon did go down on the Regar, but they're not going to be able to go on to the boss. Never mind. Savo getting run down by Emergency. Huge face melt into his team, followed by Spartacus also going down. It's only a matter of time for Roger at this point as we wait for the power slide to come off cooldown. Oh wait, never mind, barely doesn't connect. I was wrong. Roger doing a good job not losing faith running straight away. Hedgie coming in from behind the enemy team. Maybe they spy a Sylvanas at low health. I worry that this may be a bit of a dangerous trade. We see Hedgie's team start to ping them off, because at best that was the one-for-one trade. At worst they get spotted out and it doesn't go so well. Emergency not giving up on this chase. Does power slide, but Hedgie manages to avoid it with the use of the Cloak of Shadows. Savo's here on time with the bio heal thingy. I really gotta look up these ability names, man. I'm struggling out here. And it does, there's the bio kill switch, and the healing thing is called to something else. And they do help the Valera Hedgie get out of there just fine. While the boss is pushing top lane, we do have the lane pressure coming out from Montreal-style bagels. They're pushing down the mid lane. Zarya intentionally standing in the lurking arms so as to take more damage for her shield. Right now, not really much of an answer coming out from Modo. We do have the massive shell, but unfortunately it landed on these trees right here. Oh, a big power slide coming out from Emergency. Pushes Roger with face melt back into the team. Doesn't quite achieve anything. Oh, the isolation though on Zarya. Fey Dragon getting nuked down. Doesn't even get the Ancestral off. Now Modo's in a great spot. The Expulsion Zone from really trying to buy themselves some time, but it's just not quite going to work. The keep did not go down, and Modo responded with a beautiful double kill. They're now going to go ahead and try to save the top lane. Play again does not come out for the side of the Lost Vikings. All of them are dead in yonder base on the blue side, and we see a quad kill, although that's counting some Vikings, for the Jaina, played by Roger right here. Modo deciding not to waste any time at all with the advantage that they've got. They want to get back into this game. They're going straight to the boss right now. Johanna making their way to this Spartacus over. Hedgie going out to scout the enemy team. Looks like MSB decided to use this time by taking out the Bruiser camp. And now Modo looking to finish out this camp. Spartacus unfortunately eating a stun. I will say Jaina's kind of low mana. They might be thinking about that for this next push. And oh! It looks like we see a bit of a flank coming out to Dahaka right now. Dahaka definitely saw this coming because the Vision Camp was on the side of Modo. Emergency just warding him off. We do see Isolation try to go out but miss. Zadie with the excellent positioning. Oh, but we do have Roger and the rest of the boys here on the side of Modo coming up for the response. Spartacus behind, really right here. Excellent discipline, not shooting into the Zarya shield. And really is just getting chain CC'd down. Big wave on mid lane, though. I gotta say, this is a massive wave. And both of the Vikings here in the mid lane, Balog and Olaf, are hitting this keep down, but I worry that it may not be worth. Play again coming out once again, zoops Olaf into the bottom lane, but Balog did go down, giving Modo a quarter of a kill's worth of XP in the process. Overall, not a big change for either side right now, but MSB does have control of this rather vital bush for this position right now. Generally, as I mentioned earlier, for this other objective right here, this objective is very heavily favored towards the team closer to it. It's a very naturally easy position to defend. And it looks like MSB recognized this with Spartacus stepping up to the bush and decided that maybe they'll go ahead and play the next one at this rate. They didn't need to go throw everything right there. They could let their team regroup, and they're going to go ahead and play the long game at this point. Modo deciding to take this bruiser camp right here. Not much else to do on the map right now. Perhaps Dahaka, due to bides right here. Looks like he's staying out of vision range, but still attempting to get the soak. And we have just a large group up from Montreal-style bagels in the mid lane. Looks like Modo didn't want to defend that camp too hard and is just letting MSB take it out. Oh, wait a second. We see an immediate power slide onto Spartacus, but they simply iron skin and walk away. No concern for anybody, except there's a water elemental right there. I expect the Blessed Shield any second. There it is on Zadie right now. Lurking Arm, but it's immediately canceled, followed up by Regar's Cleanse. They're switching targets off of Jaina. They decide they want Emergency instead, and they pull it off. That's a fat Wailing Arrow. The Expulsion Zone guarding Sylvanas' escape. And I gotta say, even though they got Emergency, getting 5-man Wailing does not a good time, though. Zadie kind of getting bursted down. Hedgie immediately responded after Roger kind of chunked them down. Hedgie barely doesn't make it out, neither does Spartacus, and now Savo and Roger are on the run, and I thought that fight was going different ways, like 4 different times. First it looks good for Modo, then it looks good for MSB, then it looks good for Modo, then it looks good for MSB, then it looks good for Modo, and we're in that stage where it looks good for Modo right now. Fey Dragon looked for the bite kill on Roger, then decided against it once the bio kill switch came out from Savo onto Roger, healing them out of combo range. We've got Eric bribing the siege camp right now. Both teams dead for significant periods of time, but Montreal-style Bagels has a full level lead going into level 20. This could be anybody's game at this point.
Or face my curse.
Nice fight? Oh, for sure. That fight was all over the place. I was not sure who was going to win it until basically the very end. And even then, it wasn't particularly strong for either side. Modo did have a nice showing, but they just still have this ever-persistent problem of the XP advantage generated by having a Lost Vikings on your team. They're up 5 kills right now, 13 kills on the side of Modo, 8 kills on the side of Montreal-style Bagels, and it just doesn't matter that the ever-present soak from the Lost Vikings is insane. We see a little bit of posturing from Modo right now. Spartacus just pushing them out of position right now, but there's a bit of an isolation factor right here. Iron Skin comes out, Emergency diving onto the backline, Johanna separated from the team. Zadie just barely getting the ancestral healing to survive. Lost Vikings looking a bit like Chen, Storm, Earth, and Fire as they just crowd onto Jaina, taking her out. Dahaka getting slid, base melted back into his team. Hedgie thinks about helping Dahaka, but decides against it. Due to bides does go down, and that's a 2-for-0 trade in favor of Montreal-style Bagels, pushing them up to 2 out of 3 in the tribs. This next trib is very likely do or die for either team. I do think that maybe MSB could withstand it if Modo did somehow manage to win this next curse, but that is a tall task for Modo as they're down 2 people and MSB is deciding to pressure their base at this point. That's a Fat Condemn completing Johanna's level 7 quest right there, and then another Fat Condemn, sorry, a Subdue earlier. And with another person down, Sabo on the Sukov going down at this point, Montreal-style Bagels is just deciding they want to take the game right now. We see the Blessed Shield come out, just any effort to buy time at this point. Iron Skin and the Condemn. Zadie doing their best. Oh, Zadie starting to target swap onto Johanna. Roger attempting to buy time, but it's all over. GG, good match. GG's all around. And I gotta say, that was a phenomenal showing coming out tonight from Montreal-style Bagels. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and... Hello, it's me. Let's go ahead and look at the post-game score right here. We have Jaina coming out with 66,000 hero damage. Like, let's just take a look at this, okay? The highest hero damage on Montreal-style Bagels was beaten by 27,000 onto Modo. And even though Modo just had these consistently strong showings in fights, like until the very end, honestly, Modo looked really, really solid in the entire mid-game. That early game was a little shaky. They did go down the first 2 tribs, but that mid-game was all Modo's when it came to team fights, but it just didn't matter. The XP soak, 24,972. It's just too much. They needed to come back in a big way. They needed to to come in, get those kills, and turn it around. And unfortunately, I just think that's a little bit too hard with this roster that they have, where there's a very clear goal. You just CC people down and you just burst them. But unfortunately, like I said, that's very, very difficult to pull off into Rhaegar's cleanse, into Zarya's shielding. We saw Rhaegar deny some kills with the Ancestral Healing that no doubt would have been greatly appreciated, although I gotta say, Modo did an excellent job of killing them before the Ancestral Healing was able to go out successfully onto the target. We did see several of those denied this game, but it just wasn't enough. Even with such an interesting and effective advantage in these team fights, it just didn't matter. MSB was able to turn around, or rather, they were able to hold on to the lead the entire game and say, okay, you get a kill here, you get a kill there, you get a double kill there, it doesn't matter, we've got Vikings in all 3 lanes. We don't care. Okay, you killed one of our guys, so what? You missed some soak for it, and we got it, now we're up half a level. Oh, you killed 2 more of our guys, now we're up a full level. Isn't it funny how that works? Overall, very good series. Ooh, Montreal, yes. Montreal with a strong showing. 2-0 overall. The Frankenstein roster of 4 total subs, 2 from the sister team, 2 from the core subs, did end up working out in their favor. I thought it was a big question mark going into this game, but it actually worked out very, very well. Interesting drafting all around. Solid understanding of their win cons. I gotta say, that's the big one for me. I just want to say, a lot of teams that show up to these games, they just kind of, you feel like they're just picking heroes that are good, but the understanding of an overall team win condition can be lacking at times, but that's definitely not what we saw from either team this game. Both teams knew what they had to do to win these fights, and they went for it. They built for it with their talent picks, they built for it in their play style, they played to do that, and MSB just came out ahead, honestly. I think the drafting was a little more tight in Game 2, and I think the playstyle was a little more tight in Game 1, and it culminated in a rather strong 2-1 or 2-0 victory tonight. The chain CC of Modo is ridiculous when they time it well. Yes, this is very true. Just to go back and look at that again, that's not the right thing. Just to go back and look at it again, the chain CC of Modo is insane, but as I mentioned, just Rhaegar cleanse, Zarya's shield does interfere with that rather heavily. I would never pick that. I definitely don't just pick heroes that are good. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's the nice next level of HOTS. You know, I think that when you stop just picking heroes that are good, you know, like you start like just picking heroes, and then you pick like counters and synergies and all that, and then you start picking for win cons, and that's where it gets really, really interesting. When you start thinking about, what does our entire team do? What does their entire team do? How can my player, how can my character interfere with theirs and help out ours? And I think that MSB just showed such a strong understanding of how all their individual characters build into that kind of playstyle, because that draft in Game 2, all 5 heroes were built for that task. They all knew that we're going to stall the objectives, we're going to push out Elena's 4, and we're just going to protect our Sylvanas into the heavy, heavy burst that the enemy team has. Beautiful drafting coming out. Love that series overall. Your audio fades in and out with the scene when you swap. Yeah, I did notice that a little bit in my testing earlier, Hydra, and I'm not exactly sure why that's the case. I will go ahead and try and figure that out later, and we'll see how that goes. I struggle with it a little bit. Like, believe me, before this cast, I was running around like, oh god, I thought I had everything ready, but I didn't. I was like setting up scenes, desperately contacting the teams. I mean, like, all right, hold on 5 minutes, like, and so. Yeah, but I'll go ahead and I'll try to figure that out. Thank you for pointing it out, Hydra. Well casted? Thank you, Somniorum. I will say, I gotta learn more ability names and talent names, because, like, things would go out and I'd be like, Johanna 7 quest. I'm like, I don't know what it's called. That would be Subdue. Wait, so what is the... Okay, Punish. Punish is the ability. I thought Subdue was the Q. See, this is what I mean. But that felt good. That was a good series overall. I had a good time. And honestly, though, hats off to MSB. Like I mentioned, like, even though those were 2 very solid games, or hats off to Modo. Sorry, MSB, obviously, fantastic job. I've talked about them this entire time. But hats off to Modo as well for just recognizing their team win cons, keeping the pressure on, not being afraid to just go in and pull the trigger, despite how the games have been going. I think there was definitely some mental strength definitely exhibited right there. Ask Kyberry. She knows a lot about audio and video issues on Twitch. I think I will. I handle, or I deal with Kyberries a lot. I don't handle, it's wrong verb to use there. But Kyberries and I are good buds. I just say Johanna's Q, or the level 7 talent on Johanna. I think it's good to use official names, you know, like especially if I want to cast. And HOTS is probably the hardest of the games that I'm going to try to cast in terms of that, because there's so many different names. But I'm probably going to have to do the same thing for Teamfight Tactics when I do move into casting that. So it's something that I'll work on. Overall, thank you very much, everybody, for showing up to my first cast ever. I think that we had a fine series here tonight. Definitely matched the quality that I was hoping for. I'm very, very happy that I was able to watch this and commentate on it. And I'm very happy that all of you came out tonight. Alright, stream is going to end now, but first, let's go ahead and look for somebody to host. If anybody has any suggestions for people to host, go ahead and drop them. Otherwise, I'm just going to look at my follow list. Oh hey, Bahamut Gaming is playing Until Dawn right now. That's another caster. I was just asking him for advice earlier today. I'm going to send y'all over that way. You'll have fun in Div 3 and 4. There will be talents you've never even seen before. We love you, Mock Daddy. You did well, except you missed every scene swap. That's hilarious. I'll try. I'll try to improve on that in the future. There's just so much to think about, and I think as I build the habits, that'll go a lot smoother in the future. Alright, everybody. I've got a 20-second delay, so I'm going to say goodbye, and then wait about 20 seconds, and then host Bahamut, and that should work. So goodbye.